Welcome to the Pro Cheerleading Podcast. This is the only podcast that gives you a raw and unfiltered perspective of what it's really like to be a professional cheerleader. Whether you're currently on a pro team, an alumni, or really curious about what it takes to become a pro cheerleader, the Pro Cheerleading Podcast gives you all the inside scoop and hot topics in the pro cheerleading industry and in-depth interviews of team directors, choreographers, current and former cheerleaders. I'm your host, Mhkeeba. Join me every Wednesday as I reveal the truth behind the Poms. Welcome to the 5th season of the Pro Cheerleading Podcast. This is Mhkeeba. I've missed you guys. It's been 3 long behind months, and I have a little bit of an announcement to share with you all. Brittany and I talked and decided over the break that we wouldn't be moving forward with doing the podcast together. Of course, we're still friends and no love lost, but the podcast will be going in a little bit of a different direction, and it will be the same show, but same content of, all of the stuff that's going on in our space and interviewing amazing people. And we'll be having guest co-hosts. And the very first guest co-host that I'm super, super excited to introduce you all to is Kayla.
Hi.
Kayla, thank you so much for joining me. Let me give you guys a little bit of a breakdown on Kayla. She is a former Gold Rush cheerleader for the San Francisco 49ers, and she was a captain for 2 years. She's a dance instructor in the Bay Area. I don't know which actual city you're living in down there. Where do you live?
I live in Redwood City.
Redwood City, okay. Kayla reached out to the podcast and mentioned some amazing research that she was doing for her dissertation. I'm saying it like she's not sitting here. But you studied sports psychology in school. Let's just go there. Started with psychology, focused on sports psychology for your master's, and now you're earning your PhD and are doing your dissertation on what exactly?
My dissertation is on how retired professional cheerleaders adjust to retirement.
Boom. So what a huge, huge topic. And so I just thought we are absolutely having an interview about this topic. It's that time of year. As you all know, we've had, the Pro Bowl, the Super Bowl, and a lot of these decisions around retirement are happening for girls. And I think it's just an excellent timing to dig into it. But Kayla has offered to be a co-host for the day, which means she's taking the whole damn ride with us, including Cheer Chat, including Locker Talk, and sharing some of the results of her research with us, which I just think is just, like I said, such a dope topic and deep topic. And I'm going to try not to even cry thinking about just everything. It's a big deal for us and how we process retirement, right? So we're going to dig into that, but first we got to do Cheer Chat. So Kayla, are you ready?
I'm ready, girl.
Okay. All right. Let's do it. So before it gets old and crusty, we had the Super Bowl.
Right.
We had the Super Bowl. And Kayla, you went to the Super Bowl, right? With the 49ers?
Yes, my rookie season on the team.
Okay. What year was that again? Because that was...
I remember my rookie year was 2012. So all I know was the Harbaugh Bowl, and we played the Ravens. And there's that blackout. Do you remember in the stadium?
Yes. Were you freaking out and thinking that you guys were getting, like, I don't know, not attacked or something, but was it scary or was it just kind of weird?
I was just a little concerned, but I know I'm very spiritual too, so I was like, maybe this is a sign from the universe. Maybe they're trying to give the 49ers some extra time. But
49ers, unfortunately, couldn't pull it off for the Super Bowl this time either.
I know.
Can I just be honest? I kind of wasn't really rooting for you guys.
It's okay. We were on the Seahawks, right?
Yeah.
Okay, right.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you understand that.
Correct.
Okay, you understand. I don't feel so bad. But it was a good game, though. I mean, I would have been happy either way. You guys got our guy, Richard Sherman, so I was going to, be okay if you guys won, but crazy
It's
game.
so weird seeing him in a Niner uniform.
Isn't it nuts? I can't.
No, not
I've gotten used to it, but it's really, you guys ripped my heart out when you beat us. I'm not over it. Not over it at all. But anyway, what did you think of the halftime performance?
For the Super Bowl or my rookie year?
Who performed during your rookie year?
Beyonce and Destiny's
Oh,
Child.
snap. Are you serious? Okay. That was a huge one.
I know.
Oh, okay. That would have made my whole life better.
Oh, My childhood dreams definitely came true because it was like Beyonce performing at first, which is awesome. And then you
Yeah.
have Destiny's Child like pop up out of nowhere from the ground. I
Yeah.
was
Were you
crying.
able to be on the field?
Yeah.
Okay. Our first year going to the Super Bowl, it was Bruno Mars, but we were in the locker room, so I was not happy about that. And then the second time when it was Katy Perry, we got to be on the sidelines, so we at least got to see the show. So you actually were out there on the field. That's crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Ugh, I can't even. Okay. Save that for locker talk. I want to hear more
Yes.
Super Bowl stuff. But because this Super Bowl, it should not have been controversial,
I
but let's be real. There's been a lot of talk, and I went off on Twitter about it. But keep his little cheer rants and raves and stuff. But what did you think of the actual Super Bowl performance with Shakira and J-Lo?
I loved it. I was screaming in a good way, not in a bad way. I was just like, yes, girl. Like, I loved it. I mean, I can see the controversy of her dancing on a pole, or some people felt a certain way about that. For me, my take on it was I felt like she was just really tapping into her divine feminine power and her sensuality, and she was very confident. And I think there's something so beautiful about a woman being so confident in her own skin and who she is as a person. I think that just radiated on the stage. And so that's what I saw. That's what I was rooting for. And I loved that.
No, well said. Like, I'm all for it. I mean, I know that the camera didn't catch every angle of like the girls who were like hanging off the stage or something and their legs were opening. Like, I watched back. I was like, before I go off real quick, let me see if it was something that was really that bad. And I don't think, the camera, like I said, caught everything about the performance that might have seemed provocative, but that wasn't like even like a stripper pole, performance that, anybody needs to get up in arms about. I just think she twirled around the pole and she did like lift with her leg and, like whatever, like just whatever. Yeah, it was definitely disappointing. I wasn't even anticipating that people were going to be I watched it. I enjoyed it. I thought Shakira was amazing too. There were just so many dancers, and like the Instagram feed was just like all over the place with people that, we follow that were posting about performing in the halftime show. So I just was super excited for everybody. There were so many dancers that got to live their dreams out, performing with them. And then, the next day and all week long, it's just been how inappropriate it was for kids. They even had kids in the dang on Super Bowl show, and it's still inappropriate for kids. I'm like, come on. Stop.
I read this really fascinating article about, because moms are like, what do I tell my kids when they saw the Super Bowl performance? And someone responded and said, you tell them that J-Lo must have worked her butt off fitness wise and like to have enough mental strength and physical strength to train herself for that performance and to present herself the way she did with so much confidence.
At 50 plus years old. Like, right? Like, as a parent too, I just think it's really bizarre to me when people are like, oh God, thank God my young children weren't in the room, or what do I say to my kids? And it's just like, women's bodies are beautiful.
Right.
That's what you say to them. You say, look at how strong she must be, and look how long she's been dancing. Look at how synchronized everything is, how much these guys have been practicing together. I mean, it's not complicated, and it's age appropriate, the conversation you have with your kids. If they seem to have reacted to seeing something that they thought was sexy, I mean, kids are smart, they might feel uncomfortable. If they do, and you pick up on that, then you can actually have a conversation about what it means to be sexy, but you never really shaming anybody for being who they are, or it's just, it's mind-boggling why it's this damn difficult for people to have conversations with their kids about women's bodies, women's choices, our rights.
It's interesting too. I read another article. Someone said like, well, what's the difference between like professional cheerleaders dancing on the field?
Oh yeah, that's actually when I lost my mind and ended up going on my cheer rant, because we got dragged into it. Like, what's the difference between what they wear and what Shakira and J-Lo were wearing and what we wear on the field? Yeah. What'd you think of that?
I don't know. It's all about perspective, So it's like, and I just question like, well, what's the real issue then? Is it ageism? Because Because she's older and you think that she needs to present herself as a certain way. And usually professional cheerleaders are younger and they're allowed to wear more skimpier clothes.
I mean, did you see the headline where this guy, I don't know, some evangelist was like, I'm going to sue the NFL for tempting me to spiritual damnation, or I don't know. Like, people are off the hook with their with their BS around all of this. But yeah, something that was a huge celebration of Latina culture and just like on so many levels. It was just dope. I thought it was amazing. I was hyped, and that's pretty much why I was watching, right? And to see any glimpse of cheerleaders out there. And it was an exciting journey for both the Gold Rush and the Kansas City Chiefs cheerleaders. So props to them for living their best life in freaking Miami, of all places. I mean, hello. I mean, it just can't get much better than that. Obviously, the Super Bowl in Miami is going to be like beyond fabulous. It was an interesting Super Bowl to watch. Good game. And we'll get into your Super Bowl memories as a 45 years for Locker Talk. But I'm super excited to get into your research. So we're just going to segue, because I think, you know, when I went down to Pro Bowl, like I said, you know, I'm reading articles of girls that are deciding to retire because they basically reached the, you know, the top of the ultimate, you know, to be a Pro Bowl cheerleader for NFL cheerleaders especially is huge. And then, you know, they kind of go out on top and they retire. And then other people just, you know, at the end of the football season are processing like, you know, do I really want to do this again? Or they know that they don't want to do it again, so they may make a decision about it. And then we're coming up on auditions, right? Where it's going to be, you know, auditions and cuts made, and where some people are either having to decide whether to retire because they've been cut, or deciding whether to go back out and audition. So this is a huge decision for a lot of us in this space. And so I cannot wait to talk about how did you end up deciding to choose this topic for your dissertation?
So the whole time I was on Gold Rush, I was in the doctorate program. And at the time, I didn't know what topic I wanted to do at all. And, you know, as a rookie on the team, you do a lot of observing, right? You're trying to learn the ways. And so through my observation, I kind of noticed in my second year, when a lot of the retired vets would come around, I just started noticing something psychologically. And I felt that no one else was really seeing it in the larger world. And I felt like this is a totally overlooked population that people just need to know. Because obviously,
what were some of the things that you were like noticing about the vets?
I was noticing like eating disorder, habit, depression or anxiety, or just a loss of identity and not knowing who they are without pom-poms. And you know, there's just different types of girls on the team. You know, some girls don't go to school, or some like work full time. And then if you're not really focusing on your craft within the craft, you know, it's like Gold Rush or these professional teams, it's a craft.
Right.
But it's really important to also be working on another craft, because if you're not, what's happening is these girls are getting off of the team, whether they get cut or they feel like they're pushed out for whatever reason, or they decide to retire. And then it's kind of like, and I'll explain that in my dissertation too. It's just like this, oh crap,
now what kind of thing.
What do I do? You know, like I'm not on the schedule anymore. I have more free time. Like, I have to go to work. I have to apply to jobs. It's just, it's different.
And there definitely are effects that, hopefully I won't treat this like my own counseling session, but but it definitely, you know, when we chatted, you know, just the idea of it, like it got pretty emotional even for the two of us, you know. And when I look back at my year off the team, it was a rough ass year. I cannot front. There's a lot to it. So, I mean, it's great that you found this population worthy of kind of highlighting, because I think we're very similar to pro athletes in a way. I think a lot of, you know, professional athletes that retire and face that decision off, it's probably just as heavy and weighted, and then also has negative. I mean, look at what's his face? Antonio from the Steelers? Like Antonio Brown? I mean, I think he's going through all kinds of stuff because he does not know what to do with himself. Without football. And he's definitely got some destructive. I'm trying to sound like I'm some psychology person. No. Let me quit fronting. No. But I can see that athletes go through the same thing. But I think what you're talking about for us is probably, there are some things that make it kind of unique too. Were any of your professors kind of surprised by the topic at all? Or they knew that you danced, so maybe not?
You're advised for your dissertation topic to not pick something that hits too hard home for you.
Oh, really?
You don't, yeah, because you want to not have a bias, or you kind of want to be somewhat detached. For me, I wanted to pick something that I was so passionate about and that was close home to me, so that way I have passion behind the keyboard.
Totally see that. So you made the decision to pick this topic, and you were in what year with the Gold Rush?
Oh, I think it was my second year on the team.
Okay. So you were still actively doing it.
So I was progressively doing it over the course of 3 years or so, 3 or 4 years. So kind of like each quarter you focus on something different. So I was working on my introduction section for probably a year or so. And then the year that I had to actually conduct data and do these structured interviews with retired professional cheerleaders was the year that I got cut from the team for my auditioned for my 7th season, and I got cut from the team at prelims. And I never thought that the year I got cut from the team was the year I would be a part of my study population.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, which is even more probably advice for me to not go through with the dissertation, because I'm trying to go through my own healing and grieving process. And yet I have to kind of present as this strong, stable base for all of my participants.
Yeah.
And I was like, how am I going to do this? And obviously I felt lost, it's like being on the team was a part of my life. I got on the team when I was 18, 19 years old, and I grew up there. But I found so much beauty in it, and I realized it was one of the biggest blessings and gifts that I've ever received, because I was able to have a different lens in my dissertation. I was able to observe and be really self-reflective and self-aware of my own internal process. And it allowed me to kind of peep around the corner and see maybe a hidden edge that I wouldn't be able to if I wasn't cut from the team.
Okay, so I'm processing all of that. Hold on. Okay, so you cheered 6 seasons consecutively. Obviously, a respected leader on the team. You were captain.
Yeah.
I was surprised vets have to participate in every single round of the auditions process. Usually, Seahawks would have it where, the vets were able to come in later in different rounds, but to have, a cut that early, obviously it's just been a shock to the system. I'm sure it was surprising, but did you have any conversation or understanding as to why the cut happened?
So I was thinking of 2 things. So first of all, the day I got cut, I remember just sitting there and I felt very numb, and that was the first time I experienced psychological numbness. And I read about it all the time, but I actually got to experience that, and I'm actually really thankful that I got to feel that. It allows me to empathize with my clients more. But I literally envisioned myself taking 2 paths. Either I can take this sad, depressed route and kind of just keep going down that, or I can just, pick myself up and keep going and kind of view this as my whole foundation just got shook up, and I can, have my own power and laying down my own bricks and my own new foundation. And who is Kayla? What do I like to do? And so thankfully that's the path that I chose. But yeah, it was just really, really hard.
Wow. Let's get into your research, whatever you want to share. I just think it's super interesting, and I'm curious what your findings were. So when you were interviewing participants, who was your audience? Were you talking to NFL, NBA? What age range, roughly? Who were you talking to?
So I interviewed 15 women all across the NFL. The girls that I did interview from the NBA also did NFL as well.
Okay.
So that was really cool, and I was excited to interview them, because I kind of got the best of both worlds and kind of got insight. But yeah, this is from girls all over in the NFL, and I really tried to branch out and not only stick to one team. Then I had about 6 interview questions that were set and predetermined by my dissertation chair, myself, and I pretty much just asked these girls these 6 questions, and they could answer them however they wanted to. And I have a list here of some of the things that came up.
Like, so. What do you want to tell us? Because I would ask a million questions, the little lawyer in me, but I'm dying to know like what the questions were. Because maybe there are questions that people who are processing retirement or still struggling through it maybe can just think of those questions for themselves to, give themselves some space and time to see if it helps figure out how they feel.
I didn't write them down, but I do have one that I know that I know that my last question was, what advice would you give to current active professional cheerleaders? Which was like beautiful, and pretty much everyone said to really make sure you fill your free time with things. Because you're going to have a lot of free time and you're going to have a new schedule. And so come up with something that still like you're passionate about. That's something that makes you feel happy and positive, and basically find a new purpose. And it doesn't have to be brand new. I mean, you can still be a dance teacher, and that was the other advice they said, to keep dancing, and don't think that because you stopped your professional career that you have to stop dance altogether.
Got it.
That was like really beautiful to hear.
Yeah.
The number one thing that like I didn't think was going to come up, I didn't even think about it, but pretty much every single person said that they place an importance on finding the motivation to work out in retirement. Like,
woo! Say that. Say that again. That is not the gospel right there. What did they say?
They're trying to find the motivation to work out again. So pretty much everyone was saying that when you're on the team, obviously like you're going to be in a 2-piece all the time, and you're in front of thousands of fans. And so, you're working out all the time. And it's almost like these girls experience burnout for one, but also like a form of resistance, or it's almost like, I don't know if not retaliation, but it's kind of like,
oh yeah, it's like, F this, I don't have to do this shit anymore.
Right, there you go. That's what I'm thinking in my head. F this.
I'll say it for you, don't worry.
Right. So pretty much like my coaches made, not make me, but they stress the importance of everybody needs to really work out in health and fitness. And now they're like, wow, I don't have anyone telling me to do that anymore, or I don't have any, outside influence or motivation to keep it up. So what's the point in doing it?
That is so real. It's interesting that it almost comes up in this kind of like you said, retaliatory or like rebellious way, because it's really, you just feel like there were so many expectations put on you, based on you, and some that were super freaking unreasonable at times. And and just rules in general that once you are free from it, it's like, F that, I don't have to do that anymore. Right. And I think you kind of while out a little bit after. I mean, of course, you're just sort of like, I'm eating what I want to. Right. The holidays come and you're just like, I don't have to. I mean, my family even says it to me, well, you don't have to care anymore. You can eat that whole freaking, plate of food and go get some more and I have to think about it. But you definitely are feeling, I can relate to like this feeling of, why am I even going to bother? I don't have to anymore. Right. And once you get through that, like I mean, what they're saying is like, how do you build back up to giving a shit again? You know what I mean? To where you want to work out and kind of rein in some of that, maybe not reckless behavior, but I pretty much didn't work out for, I mean, I'm like
2 years.
Right? I mean, you just kind of, and you see obviously what happens to your body from having so much physical activity, such a rigid schedule of dancing and practicing and working out. Like sometimes dancing would be the workout, but man, when you just do a cold stop and then just are like, I ain't doing it, I ain't got to do it. And then body's like, okay, well, this is how this works, Right. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. So there's a double-edged sword with that too, because the other piece that came out with, not having motivation to work out is that these retired cheerleaders are mourning the loss of their active cheerleader body. Literally like a grief, like mourning, like, and they're looking at pictures and their family members, like, why don't you look like this anymore? And it's almost like you feel like you have to keep up with this past image and identity that isn't necessarily realistic. It was not realistic at all anymore. I mean, like, you know, because that was a point in time in your life, and that's also what keeps retired cheerleaders from working out, because it's like that almost like energetically physical heaviness of, I'm depressed and I'm sad that I don't look like that anymore. And now my self-confidence is taking a toll because now everybody knows that I don't look like that anymore.
Right. Oh my gosh. The things that you're saying are so heavy. Not heavy, but it's just like, it's one little statement and it means so much, right? Like when you talk about your image and, you know, everybody has their like Throwback Thursday post or whatever. You're like, you know, I remember sitting there sometimes like, should I post this one? Because I just like, just like putting it on blast, like what I used to look like that I absolutely don't look like anymore. I mean, gosh. And, you know, and that's just a very real thing when you know you don't reflect that anymore, and maybe it's all in our heads, you know, how we're perceived, but you never want to feel like you're saying like, I used to be an NFL cheerleader, and people will be like, yeah, right, you know what I mean, just based on your appearance or whatever, and weight or whatever it might be. And that's a lot of weight to carry around with you mentally, to feel like there's some like you said, it's mourning and maybe even shame that you're feeling because you don't look like you did when you were wearing that two-piece all the time. And it's an unfair amount of weight to put on ourselves, but I know we do. I mean, I do, or did. I mean, I waver back and forth in it because, you know I've probably talked about it on another episode, but it's just probably our body image episode. But it's like, I've accepted that I'm not going to be in my seagull body anymore. I look at pictures and I'm like, damn, I was skinny. I don't want that body back.
Like
it's somewhere in the middle, right? Of like, maybe not, you know, doing the most like I have been over the past however many years, but also like not necessarily at this tip top shape that's representative of what you need to do if you're going to be doing our sport or whatever you want to call it, our profession. But it really was finding my way of being okay with where I'm at. And it was not easy because you feel like you still should represent that at all times.
Right. And you said something important about like how you waver back and forth. If you think about it, and I've experienced this too, there's no time to be wavering when you're on a professional team.
Hell no.
You know? And it's almost
get cut or wavering. You know what I mean?
Like sometimes I'd be wavering too much when the holiday cookies would be coming around, you know, on the team. And it's like, no, you can't do that because you have an image to uphold. And so the biggest struggle for a lot of girls, and even myself, is just the natural human experience that comes with your body is going to waver. Like one week you're going to feel great or not look great. And that's just the human experience. You just got to roll with it. But it's like breaking that mental conditioning and that mental habit to even saying it's okay.
It's okay to waver.
Right.
Yeah. Or it's okay to be, just that it's okay. Because like, I think not the whole time. I mean, you know, every team is different, right? But like for the most part, when you're on a pro cheerleading team, you are somehow in some way told that your body in its existing state is either good enough or not good enough, right? I think it's very directly communicated or indirectly communicated to you when your body's not right. So when you're rarely telling yourself that the way that you look is okay and appropriate. I mean, you know, when you look good, you know, you have your moments where you're like, I'm feeling myself. I look good. I know I look good. But I think subconsciously, especially when you're on the team, you're always questioning whether you look good enough in uniform. And so to be in a space where your day-to-day experience, having to look at yourself in the mirror, or whether you're getting on a scale or not, and being like, where I'm at right now is okay, is a hard space to get to for sure. Hell, it is, because I mean, it's truth behind the Poms kind of thing. It's just, in my mind, I think I always had like, okay, that's the seagull body. Now that I'm like done with it, okay, I saw my body naturally wanted to gain 10 pounds. Like I just, without trying, without doing anything. And it's not like I was always getting on the scale, but it was like, okay, I keep hovering around this little weight. So I think maybe that's what my body just wants to do.
Right.
Like, okay, boom, we did that. We figured out what my new happy normal is. And it
Right.
wasn't bad. I was like, okay, I'm all right with that. And then, if it gets to a point where, I'm out of that happy normal phase at the moment, and it's something that I'm just trying to like, not to make this about me and weight or anything like that, but it's just, again, it's this process of talking to yourself and still being okay. Like, it's not where I want to necessarily be or stay, but it's just like, you're really having to recondition the way you think about your body. Like, seriously, even if you do have the realization that maybe you're not where you want to be, it's still being loving to yourself and saying, it's okay you're fine. You're still beautiful. Things may not fit the way you want them to. Maybe I don't need to go buying some extra sizes up. Maybe I just need to, it's just making decisions and choices that you're going to take care of yourself without beating yourself up over the fact that you're not what you used to be. I think retirement messes with our heads in that way for sure.
Oh, for sure. And I think that any retired professional cheerleaders listening, I think like the best way to kind of get out of that slump of lack of motivation is, just kind of be like, okay, I want to go to the gym and do some form of physical activity 4 times a week, and that's just the goal, it's like you kind of get stressed out. You're like, oh, I need to run a mile in 7 minutes because that's what I used to do when I was on the team. And, it's kind of the numbers of things can stress you out.
Yeah.
So kind of like, sometimes I'm like, I'm going to go do weight training and lift some weights 2 days a week. And then 4 days, I'm just going to run, whatever that means for me that day. That's how you just kind of stay present.
Yeah. Not that my little mouth will help anybody, but what I decided to do, and I know I fell off a little bit in January, but I was beating myself up 2 weeks right around the Pro Bowl and traveling and stuff. And, but because I'm not the gym person, I said, you know what? I'm not going to sit here and try to find a dance class or try to find a gym, like this whole, like, get out there and do something. I was like, I'm going to commit to doing something in my own damn house that I know I can. There won't be any excuses to do or not do. It's just like, I'm going to get up and do planks. I downloaded some little plank app on my phone. And the consistency of just trying to do that every morning and feeling good because I literally am like a kid. I have star my calendar in my room. But it became a motivator. And even though I fell off for 2 weeks, like, I was like, damn, the app will send you like a notification too, like you haven't done anything. But it definitely, I just started back up this week. And, but it's really just like you said, it's just that one initial step of just like, I'm going to just do this one thing. And I think it just snowballs into something where you're actually making progress, I guess, towards that goal. Because it's hard to go from doing nothing to doing something, but it literally starts with just that one decision of like, I'm gonna, like you said, whatever it might mean, just deciding you're gonna do it.
Right. And I think showing yourself gratitude is the biggest thing. There's a lot of studies right now. The brain lights up when you give yourself gratitude. So like the other day, I didn't want to go write an essay, and I've been putting it off. But the moment I even when I was driving to the cafe, I was like, wow, I'm so proud of myself that I'm even driving to the cafe right now. And then I like walked up and sat down. Well, I'm so glad I just sat down and opened up my computer. I'm so thankful. And then before you know it, I'm typing up this whole thing. So it's like if people can do that for even like setting an alarm to work out, I'm like, I'm so thankful I did that. Wow. Like just any little thing. And also, if you're going to work out, just because for me, like I'm a therapist, right? So I'm taking care of other people all day. So I view working out in the morning as me taking care of myself and filling my own cup up. So that way I can be a vessel and better, use of my energy to other people.
Right. Awesome. What else was up in that notes that you were looking at?
Let me see. There's a lot of stuff. Pretty much every single person, so that when they retire, they have this life assessment of asking themselves, who am I? So a really big identity thing. And a lot of people feel very lost when they retire at first. And So like for me, I felt that as well. You know, I thankfully have, you know, Sassy Hip Hop, my dance business, and I have like, you know, my degrees and stuff, but it was still like I had to ask myself, what did I like to do for fun before Gold Rush? And I did not have an answer. Like I didn't know what that was. And so what I started doing was, you know, every Saturday when I would normally be at a Gold Rush rehearsal for 7 hours, every Saturday I would dedicate myself to doing something that I really enjoyed doing in my childhood or something that I really enjoyed doing before the team. So that was different things. Sometimes I was swimming, playing basketball, painting, and it was like I was doing my own therapy and getting closer and closer to my true identity and really just building my new foundation for myself.
Interesting. So, question, I guess, because of all of the information that you're getting from talking to people, because you are a therapist, is it that you're just getting the information but not actually like, not coaching them along, but like you're not trying to help them with what they're experiencing, talking about, you're just listening and taking it in?
Yes.
Oh, that's so hard.
And like, I would tell them before the interview, I'm like, just, you know, like if I'm a little quiet or if I'm just literally there to be like, okay, and take the information in, or I may ask a question to maybe spark something a little bit more, but that's it. And so my dissertation, I have a whole discussion section, or like right now I'm able to kind of like share the pieces and the connections, but I could not do that. No therapy. Even if like deep down I'd be like, yes, girl, I relate to you. I know.
And you couldn't say that.
Couldn't say that.
Yeah. Even like as you're sharing it with me, all I want to do is like chime in. Well, when I was going through this and this and this, like that would be so hard. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So the loss of identity part. In talking to your participants, did you find that people were reflecting on where they were or still struggling with the things that came out?
I'd say both. I think a lot of people, I don't know, a lot of people were stuck. And there's some people, I feel like some people are still, they're coming out of the shadows a little bit and they're starting to see the light. And there's some people who are just off, living new career, move new state, and but everybody's different. And that's what's so beautiful about the dissertation is everyone's retirement experience is so different. It's so different. I think it depends on like the rewards or recognitions you received on the team, or
like if you got to go out on the high note, Pro Bowl, probably doing all right. No,
right. But even with that, it's so interesting. Like there's kind of like this norm in the professional cheer community, and maybe it's just me, but I think that there's this experience of, okay, you went to Pro Bowl, which means you probably got most valuable cheerleader, which probably means you got other rewards too. Now you should retire. It's kind of like the community pushing this person out, but what happens if they're not ready to retire?
Yeah.
And now you're struggling in retirement because you felt forced to retire, even though no one may have said anything, but
right. After studying the girls and promoting the Pro Bowl cheerleaders this year and last year, sometimes it's like 6-year vets, 7th-year vet, a lot of 5th-year vets, one rookie, a couple 2nd or 3rd year, but it's really the more senior you are, it seems to be the trend, right? That they're the ones that are selected for Pro Bowl. But again, like you said, what if they don't? There is an unspoken, not rule, but understanding that like you might just not come back after Pro Bowl because what more can you do and achieve at that point? And I don't know. I never would have really thought about that for people who may have given in to that, even though they didn't feel ready for it. And that's unfair,
I know. So sad. And no one's like trying to do that to people. It's just the norm. And it's like, well, what does it mean for that Pro Bowl cheerleader to come back and audition that year? Like,
well, because some people are like, girl, bye. Like, go away. Because like, We know how like audition season is. Everybody does the math of like who's coming back, and then like guesstimate like okay, there's 40 spots, and
totally
so-and-so's not coming back, so-and-so's not, so that leaves at least, you know what I mean? Everybody's doing the math in their head, and they're also thinking like, I mean, it's not that it's obnoxious or anything, but I could see people probably feeling like, okay, she did 5 years, she got Pro Bowl, like, why is she at auditions? Like, you know what I mean? Because that's one spot, okay? You know, that's
right.
Is gonna get picked for the team again, more than likely. So there's definitely like a vibe that you get that, you know, people are happy to have you around, but they also would have been happy if you retired.
I know.
There's like one less. Sounds so cutthroat, but it's just the reality. There's not a lot of spots, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
That's so unfair though, because they're not ready to let it go. I mean, we had girls on our team. She actually reached her 10th season, you know.
Oh, wow.
I don't know that she was ready to retire or not.
Right.
You know, there's people who have done quite a few years in a program, and maybe people are starting to think like, damn, when are you going to let it go? I mean, there is that pressure too. You know what I mean? Like, I could see that, and that's not fair to them either. You know, if they want to do it 15 damn years, then let them. You know, that's up to them. And if they make it through the auditions process, and so be it. But you're so right that there's like an unspoken expectation of maybe people should retire, which is just not fair.
Right. Like, why can't there be a shift in perspective of, damn, go girl, 10 years? Like, keep it up. Like, you've been in shape for 10 years. Like,
back to back.
Like, you must be an elite performer and woman to be selected on the team every year. Mm-hmm. And I just don't think it's viewed like that.
No, and it's messed up.
Mm-hmm.
So with the identity piece and the loss of it, because pro cheerleading like just completely consumes your life for the most part when you're on a team, maybe it's your alter ego or something, you know, you might have a career or different things that you're balancing. You know, just speaking for myself, like I definitely was older when I participated on the team. And so I had kids, I had a career, and I had so many things that I was like, okay, I'm not going to experience the identity thing. Like, you know, because we talked about enough with the podcast. And so I just thought, yeah, I'm aware of what'll probably happen in retirement. And I'm good with all of these things because I decided I wanted to retire, and I know who I am, and I got all these things going on for myself. So I'm not going to go through that. Mm-hmm. Lo and behold, yes, I did. You know what I mean? Like, like, I don't know who, I mean, in my mind, it's just like, I know I'm strong. I'm at peace with the decision. So I just thought I wasn't going to experience that. And that was a lie. I mean, it's so weird how, I don't even know how to put it into words. Like, you identify, obviously, as a person. Like, my name is Mhkeeba Pate. Like, I know who I am. But it's just hard to put the person that you are as a pro cheerleader. Like, you can't just put her on a shelf like a Barbie doll. You know what I mean? Like, that became part of you. So that's, I mean, not that you should be my therapist or anything, but that's something that it would be hard to, I think, to even explain how to navigate for people to figure out who you are without it, because you're not the same person, obviously, with this commitment of being out there and doing it, but it's still a part of you. Does that make sense? Like, I don't know, maybe we think of it the wrong way, that you have to like figure out who you are without being on a team, but maybe just who you are while you're on the team is still like part of you, that you don't have to worry about trying to extract and pull it out and put it on the shelf and, you know, with your retirement, because it sounds to me almost like impossible to pull out who you were while you're on the team and set it aside because you've decided to retire. Like, I think that's where at least my brain is processing. Like, I'm still very much the Mhkeeba I was when I was on the team. You know, people know who the hell I am. Hell no. You know, and then, like, there's not that kind of identity thing where people can identify you in that way. But, you know, I think I was starting to struggle. Like, do I need to like start omitting that I used to do it, you know, or by telling people that I used to do it, am I trying to hold on to some identity? And it's like, you know what, damn it, it's just a part of my life, just like everything else that I've experienced. And I don't need to like hide that or try to separate it because now I'm no longer a part of it. Like, it's just a part of my history. Does that make sense? I mean, I guess I'm trying to figure out, like, because I could see that being something that a lot of people probably struggle with. You're still who, you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's kind
of me, Kayla. No, I'm kidding. Fix me.
It's kind of like the, you know, the saying of like, it's time to hang up the pom-poms.
Right.
But it's like, well, why can't we keep a few strands of the pom-pom?
Right?
Right. Why do we gotta put it all away in the shelf? Like, take certain pieces. Like, the other day someone was like, Kayla, I love your interview outfit. I'm like, thank you. Gold Rush taught me how to dress. I have style and grace because of Gold Rush. Or just like, it's still, there's certain things, like I forever know how to do my makeup and I feel like a MAC makeup artist because of Gold Rush.
Right.
It's like little things. I mean, they raised me, I feel like a lot of who I am is because they taught me about character and poise, and it's an honor to be on that team. So it's like kind of remembering of like who taught you that and just honoring that.
That.
Keep a few strands.
I love that. Damn it, I'm going to put that on a dang on t-shirt. But it's so beautiful because it's like, if you have that perspective about the decision of retiring, then it becomes less painful because you're not having to like just completely put everything in a box and on a shelf and away. That it's okay to keep those things with you. And, do you need to be talking about it 24/7? Maybe not unless you have a podcast or something. Right? But it's not like you're holding on like a breakup that you just keep on, you know what I mean? Like you just, that's the analogy that comes to mind where it's like you broke up with your man and you just keep on acting like y'all still together. Like it's not that. It's just like taking, you take the good parts and leave the bad parts and take it with you. And that's okay. And that's, maybe it'll make it less painful of a separation because you don't have to like leave everything.
Right.
What else did some of your participants say?
Yeah. A lot of people said, they literally said, I have FOMO, like a fear of missing out. Whenever like they would say that, I'd be like, oh, here's another person saying the same thing. That's the cool thing about the dissertation is literally a lot of girls responded the same way to the same question, which is really interesting. But a lot of girls have a fear of missing out when they see social media, like pictures and videos and just, the active cheerleading team at certain events or, orientation or like, you're like, oh, I remember that. Or like preseason, the first game and you're not there. And so a lot of girls just feel like, wow, like I want to be there and I'm missing out and they're having so much fun. And a lot of girls were saying like, well, no, because I know that like where I'm at right now, like I'm just not supposed to be there, but they feel left out, especially when they still have friends on the team. And some friends, I guess, would be saying like, girl, you're missing out. It's hella fun. Like you should have auditioned again, which is like a freaking dagger to the heart.
Don't say that shit, lady.
Right. They're having a bad time.
Remind them of all of the horrible things that they don't have to do anymore. Don't be saying stuff like that. Come on. It's funny that, did you hear people say things like, in terms of FOMO? Because, when I look, and I'm like hella removed from it, but it's more of the bonding, I think, that like, it won't be the official events or games per se. It'll be like all the bonding that they do outside of it. And I'm like, oh, like, not like I want to hang out with everybody or something like that, but just like, you just know that that's the best part of what we do are those friendships and all the stuff that you do out together outside of it.
Right.
Because I think you miss that just as much as you do being out on the field.
Yeah. And that's like another thing that came up. A common theme was experienced feelings of loneliness and belongingness as a retired alumni. So that was like a really big thing because certain NFL cheer teams have a very strong alumni association. Some teams don't have anything. And then some it's like, you kind of have it. You kind of have to kind of like do your own gatherings outside. And so a lot of the retired professional cheerleaders were advocating for an alumni program that every team should have it and they should have get-togethers because you lose that sense of belongingness and that sisterhood. And that's what makes retirement that much harder. And that's what makes seeing these bonding pictures that much harder. And then now you're grieving even more.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Interesting. Well, I definitely am a big advocate for that as well. I think I'm still learning and researching, our industry and understand that there is like an NFL Cheerleaders Alumni Association. I'll find my notes and probably post about it because I think it was one of my friends pointed it out, KL, and she shared that they have like a convention every 2 years, I believe. But I mean, I'm probably going to try to go, I think it'll be, women networking, and I don't really know what they do, during that time, but I just think it's a great way to feel like you're part of something. Right. And connecting with other people. And you're so right. Some teams have a really strong alumni program, and the history of their program is really, a huge part of that's just the way they run it. And then other teams, and like hell, our history is completely like damn near erased for Seahawks, and it's really sad because down to like our Instagram handles are disappearing left and right. Like Mhkeeba is not even like up anymore. It's just like we've just been wiped off the face of the earth. But if we had like a stronger alumni program here, I think in this area, one, we could celebrate what we did because the program's completely different now, and I think there's people who have been mourning that loss, you know what I mean? But I just think it would make a huge difference if we had a way to connect with each other more, and not just based on which cliques that you hung out with, but just this is going to be an established support system that you can come in and out of, and you can, when you really miss it and you just want to connect with people, you can. And I just think it would be so healthy, for people to have that as an option. And maybe if it's not with your team, like how you have like that fear of like even that NFL Cheerleaders alumni thing, it's like one of those things of feeling lonely. Like, I want to go, but then I'm like, well, shit, I'm going to be like the only, I don't know that there are other Seahawks people that would necessarily be there. And what if everybody's just like, it's just a bunch of cliques and groups of people that know each other. And then you're just sitting there like the odd duck in the room. But it's really putting yourself out there so that you can connect with people again. Because you do obviously all have something beautiful in common. I'm sure they run it in a way where it's hopefully not like that. I'll let y'all know. I'll go and report.
I'm trying to go with you.
Let's go. Let's go. I think it's actually in Vegas, if I'm not mistaken. But I'll post about it because I think I just think it's going to be a good experiment. And these are women of all ages. When you think about NFL cheerleading in particular, we haven't been around that damn long. You know what I mean? So we have these fly-ass, older-looking women that are just doing their thing. And I just think it would be empowering and awesome and exciting to see how they interact and connect and what they base it on. And maybe there's, like, networking opportunities for people, jobs that are discovered. Like, who knows what could happen there. But what else did they I want to make sure you get through all your notes. So, like, whatever you share, I'll try to stop reacting to things. But
it's let's see. I have two more. So one of them is that a lot of retired professional cheerleaders question themselves on whether or not to audition after they have already made their decision to retire. So we know that some people, for example, post on social media and post a picture in the uniform. They're like, I'm retired, whatever. Right. Or like some people will be at the banquet saying, I'm retired, because everyone asks at the banquet. Yeah. Trying to do the math. Yeah. Right.
It's so giddy, it's silly, but it's like, that's so what we do though. It's like,
I hate math. That's the one time I'll do it.
Hey, it's like that. You literally are doing the math. How many spots are really available?
Right. So a lot of girls said that they were crying. Or a lot of girls would drive up to auditions and then decide to not retire. Even though they already decided that they weren't going to retire, there's like this battle in between their heads. Like, should I audition again? Should I not? So like when those audition workshops start rolling around, you'll start questioning whether or not to audition. And there's also this feeling of like sadness and loss and kind of just shock when, okay, the first round is done and you're not there.
Yeah, you can't.
It's like, can't go back.
For the Seahawks, when we used to do it, like you said, like some people who are on the fence and wavering would still go to the workshops ahead of time. Right. They freak people out because they're there, and then you're like, oh, wait, I thought they weren't coming back, and they're like, what are they doing in an audition workshop? And some people probably just play games and just like show up on these chick.
Right.
You know what I mean? Mess up their heads a little. Who knows? But because, with our rounds of auditions, the vets didn't have to come in at the beginning. So there was still plenty of time to like waiver.
Right.
All you have to do is show up for that Friday before the final audition. And so you're watching the first couple rounds happen. I could see that maybe people would have like flipped potentially during that period as they're watching the rest of the auditions, because there's still time to jump in to the race. Whereas others, you might not have that opportunity because once it starts, you can't join in later. Yeah, I could see that. It makes a difference if you just know that it's your time. But damn it, do you think it's like if you waiver, then that means you're not done? Or is it? Yeah.
That was the advice kind of that the retired professional cheerleaders are giving active cheerleaders, is like, if you're wavering, you should probably just go audition again. There's still something inside of you that's pulling you to go there, and you don't want to have that wavering in retirement, because that's when catastrophe hits.
Right?
You're at higher risk for having some psychological distress.
Got it. Well, that's helpful for people. Because let's be real, this is that time where all of those questions, all of those thoughts are running through your head. And for anybody that's listening, I just think that's, excellent advice to consider, is that, to the extent there's any doubt, then maybe that just means that you should just go through the process, and then there's, I guess, like another strain of thought that is like, when you're actually wavering those pros and cons, maybe it's just really being like honest with yourself about it, because like sometimes, like, I'm thinking of like my friends circle, but everybody's dishing about like what they hated about it, what they loved about it. And I think inventing and figuring out like how you really feel about participating in it, if it really is more negative than good, then maybe that is something to take into consideration too, because, the wavering, yes, there's going to be pros and cons with anything, but like, think about those cons to really understand if the experience overall is something that's healthy for you. As part of that, I think it would be probably helpful for people to think about too, because those cons aren't really going to go away,
right?
And and if you can't flip your attitude about the cons where you won't have a negative experience because of it, sometimes you bring that bad energy to being on the team,
right?
If you're burnt out and you're over it, you got a funky little attitude about rookies, and you're just like, then maybe you should just think about what attitude you're bringing to the team if you do make it again. And is that really the best for you or for everybody around you? Because I will say that it was kind of annoying hopefully I wasn't that kind of vet at 5 years or so, but like, some of the vets really did have like, they were hardened or they were whatever. And it's like, well, damn, if you don't like it, then why are you here? You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't want to be one of those people.
Right. Because there's also, I think people should consider the sense of dependency. Like, are you, codependent on the team? Like, do you need that team to like have a life purpose?
Right.
Like, does that team help your life go round and round? Because I've seen people also continue to audition because they would feel so lost. It's like this fear of like, well, I don't want to cross over to the other side because I don't, so it's also a question that too.
Yeah, because there are definitely people that come to mind that that it's their life.
Yeah.
It becomes your life, yes.
Yeah.
Everybody's impacted in that way, but you can kind of think of the ones that probably keep coming back because they just don't autopilot and they don't know what else to do with themselves, or they wouldn't know they would really struggle without it, kind of a thing. And that's something, like you said, that should be, that if you feel like that could be you, you would just be completely lost in the sauce about it. Especially because they might be very, very young. Here I am. I'm just, again, so far removed and older than everybody. But I just think for people who may have done it since they were 18, 19, and done it 5, 6, 7 years in a row or whatever it might be, you have so much time to like live and enjoy. And you're so young that you can always stop and figure out who you are without it and get back to it. Damn it. You can totally take time off. And did you hear in your research from people who really struggled with believing that to be the case, or like they retired thinking, oh, I can just come back later, and then never really had that opportunity. I mean, someone comes to mind that used to be on the team my rookie year. And then she, for whatever reason, retired or stopped. Yeah, technically, because she never came back. But I did see her out one day, and she was just saying that she really wanted to come back, but felt like the team was so different and not knowing anybody. Like basically, it just became the idea of re-entering or coming out of retirement. I think for people who might retire thinking, oh, I can always come into it later, just at least to understand that sometimes when you reach that point of, I want to come back and do it, what you might be coming back to is completely different, and just kind of being okay with that. And it probably is, it's not doing it with the same set of friends. It's not the squad is not the same. You're definitely older, right? Because some time has gone by. So just thinking about, yes, it's an option to come out of retirement, give it a break, live life, do you, travel, whatever, and then maybe come back to it, but understand what coming back to it might mean a couple years later. Seasons change, squads change, leadership changes, and it's, I was sad because I was actually hoping that she did come back. I think was I still cheering at the time? I can't remember. That might have been my last year, but I was hoping that she showed up at auditions, but she didn't. But it sounded like she really still wanted to dance again. So it's like, I don't know, that just makes me sad because I think you got to know that you should still go for it anyway.
Yeah, there's definitely an age factor that came up in the research where a lot of people felt like age was playing a push factor in determining to retire because they felt like, and it is like, if you think about it, I know people can't see my hands right now, but if you think about it, it's like you have the girls that continue to audition every year and they're kind of going on this continuum, and then you have fresh new girls coming in all the time. And it's kind of like you're being essentially pushed out. I mean, you have to have a quick turnover of new faces and stuff. And there's also the component of where girls felt like, well, I'm getting older and girls are getting younger on the team. Now, all of a sudden, I'm the old lady on the team and I'm dancing with some 18.
They can't see my hands, but I'm raising mine.
So that was interesting. I didn't think that was going to come up in the research, but that's like those vets that get on the team that are just kind of like over it,
Yeah,
it's because the retired girls are saying it's because they feel like, well, I'm just with a bunch of young girls and I'm too old for this, or
oh yeah. I mean, that's for my last year. I mean, I would always tell myself, I'm not trying to be like the old chick in the club who's just still, you know what I'm saying? Still holding on. You know what I mean? Like, that is not going to be me. I'm going to gracefully take my ass and sit down somewhere. That was kind of like, I'm going to be self-aware enough to know when I need to just and sit down. But, my last year, I literally, our age was like, you had to be 19. I was literally double the age of the youngest girl on the team. And I was like, okay, that's like, we're done here. This is a sign of just like, okay, I don't need to break any Guinness Book of World Records here of the oldest person to ever do it. Like, I'm good. But it was like also just knowing that people were 19. I'm 38. Right. I'm young at heart and shit, but there's just so many differences and where their people are in their lives. And yes, I'm a mama bear type of person, but but I definitely was just like, I'm not relating to squad in the same kind of way. And there's so many social dynamics and different things that you don't really want to be feeling like outside of the circle in that kind of a way. But so I can see making the decision of retiring just on that basis too, because it's a reality. I mean, you could do it as long as the hell you want to, but those things will at some point become an issue, not an issue, but just a prompt to kind of make the decision to retire for sure.
Or a couple of people were talking about how like the older you are, the more like real life, responsibility. I'm not trying to like downgrade, but it's just like, think about when you're older, you got to pay rent. Some people have kids, you got to provide for kids, you got a full ass job, you got, just different responsibilities. Whereas like when I was younger on the team and I'm 18, I'm just going to school and like working out. My mom's paying the rent and the bills. Like,
exactly. You had no worries.
No worries. I'm just living my life, girl, shaking my pom-pom.
Right. Yeah. No, and that's real. And and sometimes I think we've talked about it on different episodes, but the impact of like having such a huge time commitment with pro cheerleading and understanding like what ends up getting sacrificed at the end of the day, you know, whether that's time with your family, time with your children, promotions at work because you're not able to invest in the same way professionally in your career because you're balancing. All of those things definitely play a part in, you know, as time moves on, you have to kind of put your big girl panties on to kind of really look at what's going on in your life outside of cheerleading to know if it's a good time to make an adjustment to your priorities too. And it makes it sad because it's almost like, yes, you can have it all and can balance, but at a certain point, sometimes things get out of whack and you have to like recalibrate.
Right.
Yeah. Interesting. So you do all of these interviews, you see these trends in the research. Just talk us through like what now. So you put it all together in a format for your dissertation, and then where are you with it now and what's next, or how does it end? Not like that, like not an interview, but like I've never considered after law school. I was like, there is no more school for me. My mom was like, you should get your PhD, and I'm like, no, the hell I should not. I'm partially just super curious of PhD program and process, but where is it at in terms of your studies? And I know you're about to graduate, right?
Yeah, I graduate in June, so pretty much I can publish the dissertation, which is really exciting. So I plan on doing that. And also just being an advocate for professional cheerleaders and specifically retired professional cheerleaders on, okay, we have this data, but what are some preventative strategies or techniques that we can do to help this really overlooked population that's struggling, you know? So I plan on doing a bunch of TED Talks and, you know, ideally I'd like to go into different professional teams and talk to the current active team, which is really important, and talk about retirement because I feel like retirement isn't necessarily talked about so much. Like, nobody wants to think about that. I'm just trying to live my life. I'm trying to do preseason and, you know, all this stuff. And so it's like, let's talk about it just to have the awareness, you know, like that's the number one step. Just start to think about, you know, okay, what may life look like in retirement? How can we make it less scary and fearful? Like, let's prep now for it.
When would you recommend a talk like that to happen during season? You know, like, would it be at the end of the season chat, even though it's not like too late? But like you said, when you're just making the team and at orientation, you are just super excited. Nobody's going to be understanding how important it is, everything that you would possibly be sharing in that conversation, because it's not relevant in their minds and timely. But at the same time, if you wait till the end of the season to get them thinking about like all of these things, I feel like they kind of need to be thinking about it during the season even.
Yeah, totally.
It's something that should just be in their minds. So, you know, appreciate the experience more during the season if they actually are aware of like some of the things that you're mentioning that would help them process retirement better. I mean, I'm loving that we're sharing in the podcast, but like how would you envision presenting the information so that people are able to process it and actually have it help them while they're an active cheerleader?
Right. So I used to do sports psychology talks with Gold Rush, and we would kind of have them like every, you know, month or 2 months, just depending how busy we were. And I would go in and kind of do psychoeducation on certain sports psychology techniques. And we talked about how it applied to us as cheerleaders and throughout the games and practice. And so I envision like going into a team and talking about retirement, like the middle-ish of the season. Definitely not at an orientation like, hey, you made the team, so let's talk about the ending now.
Keep it in mind, ladies. No, I'm kidding. No, that would be a little awkward.
Yeah, just like the middle-ish so we can just start just thinking about it and planning, because it's like, okay, at the end of the season, it's kind of like, oh, shit. And then it's like, you're just fearful because you feel unprepared.
Right. And I just have to say that I love that you've put the time, obviously hours and research and dedication towards this, because again, like you said, it's an overlooked population. And when I think of, you know, the Seattle Seahawks organization and the amount of resources that they try to provide our guys, like the players, you know, they are giving them so many tools to prepare them for life after football. And I think it's an awesome thing. I think we're deserving of something similar too, in the sense
Right.
of, like, you know, like they have like partnered with companies for like internships or ways that the guys can, you know, find a job after,
Right.
like seeing different career paths that they could take, things that, you know, pick up from whatever they were studying in college, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, and just talking about the change that they'll experience when they stop playing football. And I just think we deserve that kind of care as well, and time and teaching, because it really is just learning about what's next, and nobody talks about it, like you said. And I just think you sharing your research and having that as a resource for teams would be amazing. I hope that anybody listening who's a director would consider that, you know what I mean? Because I think it will help, it'll just help your team post being part of your actual team. Like it'll just make them better at processing everything that they're going to go through, because it's not that it's an awful, horrible boogeyman kind of a thing, post retirement, but it can have some some down. I mean, I don't know how dark it got with your people that you were talking to, but I just think it can be difficult, let's just say that. And I don't know, and it doesn't necessarily have to be as difficult, or like you said, as scary, if they have some information that they can work with.
Great.
Well, I'm so thankful that you were able to share your research with us. I mean, I just think, you know, for all of our listeners, we're just, you know, trying to provide as many stories and just dope information as possible to everybody who's listening. And I just thought, why not kick off season 5 with this conversation, because of how timely it is with, you know, where we are in the season right now. And so for everybody who's listening, if you would like to, you know, reach out and share your thoughts about what you're struggling with and processing about retirement, you can hit us up on Instagram or email or whatever. And there are some people on Twitter, so yay to people on Twitter that are interacting. But I just think we can have our own community, right, of support for each other. And so if you want to share, whether it's anonymously or not, what you're going through or what you're struggling with, or you just want to talk it out, maybe somebody who's on the outside, holler, because I just think it's a healthy conversation to have. And, you know, you can have that conversation with people who aren't part of this life, and they may give you some good or bad information. Like if all they hear you is complain about what you experienced while you're on the team, they're probably telling you, well, just quit, retire, let it go. And that can be great. But then you're like, wait a minute, you know, you don't know the good part. So we get it. So like, if you want to reach out, the door is wide the hell open. So we end, Kayla, every episode with either drop it like it's hot or locker talk. And you started out talking about Super Bowl, and we know that you went to the Super Bowl. So I'm going to give you a chance to decide if you have a locker talk story for the ending about your Super Bowl experience, or I have a feeling you have one or two.
At least.
No pressure. Give us a locker talk.
I remember seeing Shaq on he was in the stands. And I remember we were making eye contact, and the entire game he was just making faces at me, like all his like iconic faces. I don't know if you see, I think it's called like a GIF or a GIF or whatever.
Yeah.
Like all his little funny faces, like he was making those faces at me. And so it was just cool. Like we got to talk on the field, which was like awesome. And he's just so great. And I saw like Idris Elba. And
okay, stop right there. What?
Okay. You guys, listeners, listen. He looks so good in person.
Oh my
girl.
Listen to me. I just started watching The Wire again for some strange ass reason. I just was like, I want to go back in time. I lived in Baltimore for a year. I started watching The Wire, and all I'm doing is drooling over him all over again. Anyway, go ahead. Tell me everything. He's so fun.
He's wearing those like really nice tight thermal sweaters.
Oh, I just hug you. Oh my God.
I was like, oh my God. I was having hot flashes.
Girl.
He looks real good. And I didn't even know he had an accent at the time.
Yes, girl.
So that was like the highlight of my time. And then for the locker room, I don't know if people know this, but we actually shared the locker room with the Baltimore Ravens cheerleaders.
Oh, we did that the Patriots one with a curtain. It was very
a curtain, yes.
very awkward.
Oh God, that damn curtain, because you know what happened when we lost? It was just like the confetti. They actually like they have the confetti on the side. Like, they don't know like what colors to put in. They're kind of like ready.
Yeah.
So I started seeing that fucking purple going. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, we went back to the locker room and the Ravens cheerleaders just come and they're like, yeah, and they're like celebrating. And we're all like devastated and crying. So I'm like, oh my God, that damn curtain. I mean, we got out as fast as we could, but it just was like rubbing it in.
No, my director, listen, when we lost the Super Bowl to the Patriots in the most horrible way possible, that was the first thing that she freaking yelled on the sidelines. Hurry the F up, not in those words, but hurry up, get to that locker room and so we can get the hell out, because we shared it and it was, we did not want to be in. Now, when we won, we did the whole victory. I mean, we took our sweet ass time. We were out there forever, it seems. You know what I mean? But like, she was just like, under no certain terms, wanted to be up in that locker room by the time they came back there. I would have probably, like, that wouldn't have been good. That would not have been good.
Horrible.
Oh, awful.
Absolutely horrid.
Yes, did you have a Super Bowl party?
Yes, we did. We had it was Snoop Dogg.
Okay. He performed it too.
Oh my God. Oh, really?
Yeah. He made me forget we lost because it was so much fun. I felt like happy and fun.
Yes.
Okay.
I know he has so many cool songs. I mean, like, I know his songs, and when he's up there performing, you're like, oh, I know that one. And it was just, it's dope.
Yeah. But we still lost, but until it wasn't amazing, but it does, help to have a party. Did you have any fun appearances that you did at Super Bowl that would come to mind?
We didn't have that many. It's so interesting because I'm, watching the girls go through the Super Bowl now, and like, I'm retired, right? So I totally get the fear of missing out, it's like,
yeah.
It's like,
that's true. Yeah.
It's like, I know what that's like, but I'm also like, dang, you guys are doing like all this and this. Like, I didn't get to do that. Or
especially because they were in Miami, right? I felt like it was just, they were all over the place on all kinds of TV shows, not just the Good Morning America-ish circuit. Right. I felt like they were everywhere this year.
Yes. I know. And then I was thinking too, like, wow, the times are just so drastically different back from 2012 to now. There's just more social media and like the pictures that the girls are posting, because I have them on social media. I was like, damn, I don't even think I had like Instagram wasn't a thing back then. It
wasn't. Yeah, we didn't have our own seat. We weren't even allowed to post any. Girl, yes, go ahead.
I'm just like, dang, like I'm over here like struggling trying to find Super Bowl pictures to post. And I was like, wow, I really didn't get to capture my experience as much, because social media was not that big back then.
Yep. That sucks. Again, like I forget who I was talking to about, like, if there was a real way to like document what you do in a way that's meaningful, especially like when they're yanking your dang on Instagram handles, right. Like off the face of the earth. Luckily, I still have everything that I would have posted, but it's definitely something that, it makes it sad to think that you could have maybe documented things a little differently. Mm-hmm. Darn it. With your choreography, I think it kind of came up that you may have had your choreography performed.
Yeah.
Can you end with that note? That is so cool.
Yeah, so Oscar and I choreographed a routine for Nana's Gold Rush, and it was just on TV, and my best friend sent it to me. She's like, "Isn't this your choreo?" I'm like, "Oh my God, it is!" Like, I was
so cool. Yeah. What song was it to?
It was originally to Saweetie, My Type, but they changed it to Lil Jon, Get Low. Probably just something more hype, which is dope. I'm like, wow, you guys are dancing to that. That's cool. So yeah, it was cool. It looked awesome, and that was my first time seeing my choreo on TV.
Yeah.
It was like a dream come true, and like a full circle moment. And it's just felt good to be excited for the Gold Rush girls and seeing them perform. It was cool.
That's awesome. Well, Kayla, thank you so much. I mean, this was a wonderful, in-depth discussion of something that I think at some point everybody's going to be dealing with, and just thank you for doing the work, right? Because it's not like somebody was going to be like, cheerleaders are so interesting. Like, I'm going to focus on them and talk about, you know what I mean? Like, nobody from the outside was going to do it. So I just applaud you for kind of going against the grain and picking something that you were passionate about as opposed to not, and just shedding light on the issues that we face. And you realize that there's a lot of similarities. So I think what guys go through, not even just men, but just professional athletes in general go through as they're facing retirement. And so I just think it just deserves some attention. And I just thank you for doing the work, because clearly it's a lot, and you're doing it while you're going through it. I just think you're like a superwoman. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. So I'll give you like the link to my dissertation when it's published. There's a really cool history section that talks about how professional cheerleading kind of developed in the NFL, who was the first team to wear the white boots, and how that all started. So
we need a history lesson. That's the one thing that I think, I tweeted some article, but it was like, there's a lot of, I think, information if you really know the history of cheerleading that's like, because, it's surprising in some ways, but it needs to be documented. There's a few books out there and all of that, but like, that'll be great. Please do share the link. I will definitely post it as well. And I'm super excited. Thank you for joining as a guest co-host. It's just been great having you. So thank you so much. That wraps the first episode of season 5, everybody. So excited. There will be some interesting things going on this season. You do not want to miss out. Tell your friends to catch up on everything that we've published before. But buckle up, Buttercup, because this season is going to be pretty damn amazing. Thanks, Kayla.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to the Pro Cheerleading Podcast. You can follow your favorite podcast on social media at Pro Cheerleading Podcast on Instagram, at Pro Cheer Podcast on Twitter. We're on Facebook, on YouTube, and you can support your favorite podcast on Patreon. Until next time, keep your eyes on the sidelines.